Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. You know, we're in the dog days of summer, and sometimes in summer, our clients, our prospects, our employees take vacation or holidays, right? It's only normal, and things tend to slow down. But how do you ensure that performance in the overall business doesn't slow down too dramatically during these slow times? Well, winners, you're in store because we'll have some tips to share. But before we start sharing those tips, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. We're on all of them, including YouTube. And also want to give a shout out to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push, as well as his Amazon best-selling book, Mindset is My Degree, for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you, Nick Menard.
You're welcome. Hello, winners.
Hello, hello. So here we are, dog days of summer in Florida. Ooh, has it been hot?
It is.
And now we're in rainy season, and people are traveling, and clients are traveling, and yet we still have to make sure the business operates. So thoughts on high level before we get into the details, how to keep the focus on driving performance forward, even when these are times where a lot of people are out on vacation and holidays.
Yeah. So the good thing about it is that every year is the same date. So you can prepare for that. Something I don't like usually in my teams, and when people say, well, it's July, it's August, so it's slower. Well, you could prepare better. There are ways to prepare because there are questions you can ask to your clients in May, June to prepare for when they're gone. But if you have no idea when your clients are going to be out of office, I think that part of that is your responsibility as well. So it's something that I like to talk about to usually at this time of the year, a little bit earlier, about what step can we make. Yes, it's going to be slower, but if you do what's right, you may not have to have slow months per se.
Love it. A little line went through my head.
Oh, line? What kind of line?
Plan for success versus reacting to failure.
Love that line.
Ooh, I might have to put that on ChatGTP. See if I get another 2-cent royalty check. I never even got 1-cent royalty from the quotes before that they said I said.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. I'm not at your level yet.
Yeah, got to keep working. I can't retire yet. All right. Well, now let's get to our favorite segment, Quotes and Quips. All right. The first one is from a Reddit user, unnamed. So thank you, Reddit user, anonymous Reddit user. And the quote is, when it is busy, work in your business. When it is slow, work on your business. Thoughts on that quote?
I love that as well. So we all know there are seasons in business as well. So time of the year when it's extremely busy, you need to be head down into, your, your main focus of whatever it is from your business, from your job. So it's hard to incorporate any new project, any change that you may have that you may want to try out, or looking at workshops to do or things like that, because you don't have time. You are heads down. And what I always said, I try to have like a place, I don't know, OneNote or documents or something in your, if you're old fashioned like me, you write it down in a notebook or something.
But at least you didn't say stone and chisel to play hammer.
I'm done with that a few years ago. So try to put that down, because at some point you will have a slower season, regardless what business you are. Usually you all have a slower season. And that's when you can actually pull that up. Like, what idea you and your team add, or your business add, in order to innovate, incorporate, change management, or anything you want to do, that may be good. So I totally agree with this quote. Sometimes you have no choice than to do what you need to do, but sometimes you have time, and instead of just rolling your eyes and waiting for client to call or things like that, you just have things to incorporate to make it even better, or having a better structure or a better practice or a better way to save time for your associates doing XYZ and things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there's a saying that I like, an idle mind is the devil's folly. Like when you're bored and you're not doing anything, that's where things can get into trouble. I used to have a buddy back in this was actually grade school. It was
Oh
sixth
wow.
grade. And we were in a class that was just really slow. And he would end up making sounds and doing stuff because he was just bored, and the teacher would go bananas and he'd get sent off, and he ended up getting all the trouble. And the fact of the matter is he just wasn't mentally stimulated, and so he created his own excitement, and the teacher didn't appreciate that. But
I'm sure.
and of course I joined him, but because I also was bored. But it's true. I want to share the things that we're doing because
Next episode.
yeah, I want to have some scruples, but it is true. Like if you think about it, like a lot of times when we're busy, things are coming very fast, and it could be almost like you're, just putting out one fire after the next. When it slows down, that is an opportunity to reflect, kind of do a review. What's been working well so far? What should we be doing differently? How do you raise the bar? All things like that. So yeah, use the slower time to actually do some strategic thinking and planning, not just running from thing to thing like many times is the case when it's really busy. All right, good stuff there. So let's here's a quip. This is unknown. So thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Unknown. But in any event, the quip is productivity during slow times is like stretching before a race. No one cheers, but it wins championships. Thoughts on that one?
I mean, we could. I love it. It's like practice during before playing. Like never. Nobody likes to practice, or nobody really have eyes on you while you practice. But that's where you actually win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. So downtime, when you have downtime, or it's the summertime, even though I mentioned earlier, you can avoid a lot of those slower months if you prepare correctly in most business, not all businesses. But you are slower. You're going to be slow anyway. So what are you doing to maximize your time and energy during the day instead of just being bored waiting to be 5 o'clock or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
If you are a business owner, it's different because it's your baby and you just work nonstop around the clock. But even when you're when you are a business owner, what are you doing to improving your business during those slower time?
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to implementing something new? Are you trying to make it better? Are you trying to maybe hire someone to help you with whatever you're struggling with? Are you listening to audio to get better? Are you doing training? Are you adding licenses to your book of business? I mean, I don't know what you're doing. So it can be so many things that you can do, but if you don't do nothing, then you will have the same results. And so you cannot expect better. And your competition will probably be doing those steps that we talk about on this podcast. And so they will be better when the time is hot again. They will have even better deal. They will have more clients. They will, so a lot of time during those slower months is where actually companies make a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things that was running through my mind with that quip is, those graphics, you see it in a lot of different things, but they show the iceberg, and like what people see is above the water, and then what people don't see is below the water. That's what the quip made me think about. Like a lot of times, as you know, preparation and doing the little things and the practice and the role playing and the A/B testing of certain maybe marketing outreaches to get more prospects to turn into clients and things like that. People don't see that a lot of times. They just see the surface area stuff, the success, the failures, the big events, the
What's shiny?
yeah, and stuff. And it's all the things underneath it. So just like stretching, nobody gets excited about seeing people stretch, but you have to warm up the muscles. You want to loosen things up, and that's going to help you run the race better. It's the same with business. So if business is slow or it's a slower period, I agree with you. Some of that can be mitigated by planning better and kind of, calendar management so that you're not as slow. But the other thing is work on the fundamentals, work on some different things that can help you prepare. So when clients are coming back from holiday or your team comes back from vacation, you can accelerate from there versus just now starting the engine.
Yep, 100%. I agree wholeheartedly about this. I mean, stretching is all about also like you think about the dynamic in business compared to sport, but stretching is to avoid also injuries. So in
Mm-hmm.
business is to avoid like having one of your good months and being not that good. So what are you doing to try to compensate as well? And
Hmm.
recovering faster because you stretch before the race and you stretch after the race. And it's for different kind of reason. The reason before the race is to muscle are ready for the race,
Hmm.
and stretching after is for better recovery and avoiding having lasting injuries and things like that. So if you compare that to business, what are you doing to actually improving your business during those slower months?
Yeah, 100%. So, with that, I think, in the dog days of summer for a lot of businesses, it may tend to slow down a little bit. What are some things I already kind of alluding to where you may go with this about making sure your people are planning ahead, but are there things in additional that you try to encourage your team so that they can help ensure that business doesn't, decelerate too much during slower times?
Well, we are in a, our main job is in service organization. So what I like to do during the slower months is also work more into the individual development plan of the people. So we all know people. Rarely people are happy where they are, and they said, "I want to die this position." They always want to get better at something, and there's nothing wrong loving what you do and wanting to continue. So I'm not shaming them, but majority of people want something other. They want to improve, they want to grow, they want to go to leadership, they want to go to operation, L&D. It can be a lot of different places people can go, but during those slower months is maybe a good time to review their plan. So what are you doing in order to be ready when you earn the right to apply for XYZ positions? So during those months, it's actually great time to actually review those because it's less client activity. Or, so that's something that I like to focus on. I do also the main like get together, like those team building activities and stuff like that. I like to do that during those months as well more because there is time to actually build, which is super important in a group setting, to have like those activities to get together so people can relate, can get to know better their peers, their partners and stuff like that. So I like to do those kind of things during the summertime or end of year, Christmas time, because there's a lot less client activity during those times.
Hmm.
And when it comes to preparation, that's something very easy. When you are in an organization who talk to client a lot, well, you will talk a lot less during those months. What are you doing to prepare yourself for that? Are you asking a question during one of your call a month, 2 months prior for April, May, are usually perfect timing to do that? Do you know by any chance, did you already schedule your family vacation?
Hmm.
If you work with, certain area, definitely in Canada, for example, people are leaving 3 weeks, 4 weeks sometimes
Hmm.
during the summertime. That's very different. In Europe, it's 3 weeks. In US, it's more like 2 weeks max.
Yeah.
It's very different. But if you know when, put that in your calendar. You will be surprised, if you have a call at that time or like a recurrence, for example, a recurring call. Well, you need to push it, but the person is on the call with you right now. So it's a perfect time to actually reschedule it.
Hmm.
Or during that time, you don't need to send things to your clients, like because they will not respond and they will come back to thousands email and you think that they will read all of them. No, they're
Yeah.
going to
Right.
go through it and delete majority of them. So avoid sending things during that time. It's going to be less frustrating as well. And you will not wonder, are they reading it? Are they, if you know in advance that they're not there, you don't have to worry about those. So you can literally elevate 70% of the unknown by just asking a question during one of your previous call. And that's something that I always coach my leaders and my individual contributor when I was manager. And I think it's a very simple but very important step to do when you are in a service organization, even sales organization.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And um, as you were saying that, I was thinking it's not like all our clients go on holiday at the same time.
Hmm.
So they're not all going to be. So I like your idea about, hey, put their vacation on your calendar so you have awareness, and then you can adjust accordingly. Just like the Nordics, right? The Nordics are famous for taking off most of
Mhm.
July. Well, that move the calls to August or June and have them sooner, and then pick it back up in August. Things like that, like being thoughtful, both strategic and tactical, to make sure we deliver. If it's sales, if you're in a sales position, again, same thing. Not all the prospects are going to be on holiday at the same time. but maybe that's a great opportunity to A/B test different outreaches, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of your pitches that you're doing, and try to think about, hey, maybe if I tweak this or I just say this slightly differently, do you speed up the sales cycle and ultimately close more sales because you've made some adjustments during that period and tested them out on some of the folks who maybe aren't on holiday, and you
Yeah.
can test
And
them out.
also the reports piece of it, that people underestimate a lot of time in business. Like I know when when you work with C-level executives, they may not have time for chit chat, the weather forecast, and things like that. But everybody are human,
Mm.
and human beings have passion. Human beings have personal stuff. What about just knowing when they go on vacation and have a little chat? Oh, great. Where are you at? If you don't mind me asking, where are you going? Where are you? Oh, I'm going XYZ. I'm going in Spain. I'm going to Colorado, or whatever it is. Write it down.
Write it
What?
down and contact Nick Menard and Associates with Dream Vacations to help them book that dream vacation.
Here we go. Very, very, very good. I like it. I like it. But write it down. Why? When you know that the client is leaving on the 15th of July and come back August 1st, make it easy. How powerful it is for you to send an email on August 2nd and said, "Hey, Mr. Client, hope you had a wonderful time in Barcelona with your family. Wondering if you had time to visit Park Güell or Sagrada
Mhm.
Familia." You just Google what's in the place if you've never been,
Mhm.
and then just mention a couple of things. That what do you think is the chance that that person is going to reply to your email? Compare of just saying, "Hey, the last 2 weeks we just came out with an amazing report that you may want to see. I work. I have 150 emails of work that I need to go through." But
Mhm.
what if you ask something personal about family, about location that they may have visit or no, or not? They will respond that one because it's personal,
Yeah.
and you build that relationship, that partnership, you build that rapport that's so important in any businesses, because everybody wants to keep their client happy, right?
Mhm.
Of course you need to provide value, but those little things will go a long way at the end of the day to build that rapport that will allow you to have maybe a seat at the table for when it's time to upgrade or renew or things like that. So
Mhm.
that go a long way to know those little details.
I totally agree. And I think the other thing I think about is a movie that I refer to more often than not on different leadership aspects is the movie Boiler Room. So, Boiler Room, for those who don't know, one of Vin Diesel's early movies, was in like the mid to late 90s, I think, maybe
Mhm.
early 2000s. I can't remember. But basically, the scenes that I think are most gold in that movie are the Ben Affleck scenes. And if you combine all the Ben Affleck scenes, they probably total 5 minutes, right, out of that whole movie. But there's some great nuggets. And one of the things he talks about is there's a sales made on every call. Either the prospect is selling you on a reason why they shouldn't buy, or you're selling them on the reason why they should. And for those in leaders, when you hear on the lower rungs of the ladder of accountability the excuses about, oh, all my clients are on holiday or stuff like that, are you going to accept? Are they going to sell you? And that's the reason why their performance is maybe lagging or lower quartile, versus knowing the fact that not all their clients are on vacation the whole time. Not all the prospects are out on vacation the whole time. There is still work to be done. Maybe not quite the same volume as when everyone's fully present in at work, but certainly it's not everyone's out at the same time. And I think, as leaders, sometimes we may turn the cheek a little bit sometimes with people just because you get the sense of, and maybe they just need a little bit of a break. But it's one thing to take a tiny break. It's another thing where it's a systemic bad habit of poor productivity. And
Mhm.
are you going to really accept that? And so I always, when people start leading with absolute statements like all my clients are on vacation, immediately I raise an eyebrow, and inside I'm saying bullshit. And you're
That's
not
very
going to
true.
sell me on that. I'm not going to believe it. You're going to have to really convince me that that's the case, because I really don't think that's feasible.
No, I totally agree. We need to. We need to be realistic about expectations, and client knows that as well. But so is your manager, your leader, your VPs. They all know that it's not the case. And usually it's a very small portion of the client who will be out at that time. But again, the focus of a lot of people is in what's impossible to have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always the focus. So if you focus, it's like when you drive a car and you have an accident and you focus on the accident, you will probably hit it.
Yeah.
So focus in what's right, what's in front of you, and allow yourself to not waste your energy in all the things that are impossible to reach. If the client is 2 weeks in Zimbabwe for a safari, don't try every day to figure out a way to reach out to your clients. Just do all the rest, all the people who are actually still on, working. And I think it's important. It's people may listen to know and I go, duh, but you would be surprised the amount of people who focus on the wrong thing. And like you said, it's a very small amount of client who will be in vacation that exact week. And if you don't know it, it's part of your responsibility unless it's an unexpected time off. But focus on what you can actually work on, and that would be something that's even more valid during those summer vacation, Christmas vacation, or things like that, because again, in Christmas vacation a lot of people are off. I agree, but you have people who love that time to actually work because they don't have to
It's
worry
quieter.
about meetings. They can actually get stuff done and things like that. But if you don't know who are actually where, that's your responsibility to ask those questions. Most thing that you don't know would be resolved by just asking. But people don't dare to ask for whatever reason, or don't think about asking. But those are very important questions to ask. And again, if you don't ask, you don't have an answer. That's a no automatically.
Right.
So just ask and see the feedback you have. If you have 70% of the people who give you the answer, that's a huge win.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think you touched on it earlier, but the calendar management piece, like to your point, summer comes same time every year, holidays come same time every year. Shape your path. Put a reminder on your calendar, say in May, before the summertime, say summer 2 months away or a month and a half away, and let that be the trigger for you to understand, well, maybe I should reorganize my calendar in May to take on a little bit more activity because it's going to be slower in the summer. Whatever works for you. There's different things for different people, but shape the path so you have a higher probability of remaining successful and productive versus you just kind of wing it. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're turning the calendar page. You're like, oh, it's June 10th. Oh, look, I have a couple of these clients that are going out tomorrow on vacation. I didn't really notice that and pay attention. And now you're working from behind.
Yeah, and based on your business, you should know which month should be slower. I remember I was talking recently with someone who is doing gates and stuff, but like in Florida, of course, everybody have gates. But he tells me now we get into the hurricane season in July, August. Well, those months for him, they don't know when, but if a hurricane hits, they will work around the clock because that's when everybody needs repair. All those gates need to be redone and things like that. Think about pool cages. Hurricane season, it's don't bother them asking them question to go have a drink during hurricane season because they will be ready to actually go in and fix things. If you are in the hospitality industry, if you are living in Florida, you have the October to April, I have the snowbirds. So, this is a season when you need to catch the maximum amount of money because the rest of the time will be just local. So a lot less business. And so, based on in our organization, we know summertime, we know December will be slower because we work with C-level executives and their direct reports. So it's going to be automatically those months that people take off. But also the months that are the most important. So we know that June is a huge month because you need to have a huge month before the summertime. We know that September will be huge because after that it's closing budget. It's talking about the budget for the next year. So they have no time to talk to you. So you need to know all those months that you need to hit because December month, January will be slow because July, August will be slow. But so the other months are very important that you actually maximize your time. So you may work more those months like working with clients more. So what are you doing when you don't have as many calls? What are you going to do to optimize your day? And I think that's what we try to explain during this podcast, this episode, is to understand what are you actually doing, or how are you coaching your people to do something during those slower months.
Yeah, 100%. I think what's really important for some people, it could be helpful to reverse engineer. So if you need to make X amount of calls in order to get some level of productivity, whether that's on the service side or on the sales side, you have to accommodate for the fact that, okay, yeah, I may not be making as many calls during this window of time. So, okay, if you bring that forward, then how are you going to, what are the numbers you have to hit so that you're still staying pace with the type of activity that you know will lead to results? Again, service or sales, doesn't matter. Do you know your numbers? So like, let's say, for example, you average 2.5 calls per day during normal times. Well, what's it going to look like in order to do 3.5 calls per day for a 30 or 45 day window? And can you manage your calendar accordingly so that you have that kind of structure so you can deliver that kind of productivity? And it also comes back to prioritization, right? Like some of the lower leverage activities that are on your calendar, do you say no? Do you defer? Do you reschedule to a different time, to maybe one of those slower times if they're not urgent, and certainly if they're not as important, so that you can accommodate more productive activities or higher leverage activities during that window of time to get you prepared, knowing that things will throttle down for a little bit in the summertime.
Love it.
So there you have it, folks. Any last thoughts or tips you want to share with our winners about making sure the accelerator doesn't decelerate too much during holiday season or summer season?
Now, downtime should become a normal time if you prepare correctly. So make sure to know what to do when it's getting downtime, because I'm pretty sure, have a lot of ideas that can benefit your business organization. And if you don't prepare during those slower time, then you're wasting the time and you're wasting opportunity to get better at your job.
Totally agree. You can either prepare and take action to be successful, or you're going to be on the receiving end of being a little less successful than what you could have been, or a lot less successful than you could have been if you had just taken the initiative and planned and acted accordingly. So we'll end on that little tough love for our winners, but don't accept excuses.
No.
Onward and upward.
Ladder of accountability.
That's the way we roll at Two for the Win podcast. So please make sure you subscribe, share, and follow if you want to hear more great tips. And we're on all the major platforms and YouTube. And thanks again to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push and his best-selling Amazon book, Mindset is My Degree, for sponsoring today's episode. That'll wrap up this edition of Monday Mindset Winners. We will see you next time. Be well.
Bye, winners.